a little bit about designing sort of a floor plan for a house, going from 2D to 3D, the advantages of using Illustrator with Maya versus trying to do this with the curve tools in Maya and then, NURB objects and all of that. And then we're just going to look at a couple of like do's and don'ts, particularly for cutting windows into those walls once you extrude them into 3D objects. Now, I could use curve tools in Maya. Personally, I find the curve tools in Maya to be very tedious. I would day in, day out use Illustrator to design my curves and then save them as an Illustrator 8 and import them, or use the SVG copy and paste, which we'll look at in just a second. Personally, I have a few. I wish Maya would work on their cool. I know it's not CAD software. Maya is not CAD software, so it's not supposed to be easy like Fusion 360 or AutoCAD for drawing things in 2D and then extruding them. But they could make it a little easier. They could borrow. But I could draw something with my Bezier curve, and I could make things very linear as well, and make some kind of crazy floor plan. And this is my tribute to all the modernist architects out there. One of my biggest things, I just can't close my curves without having to do this stupid tedious thing of grabbing my selection tool, holding down shift, and then close it, and then let Maya figure out how to automatically close it. Okay, whatever. There's my rant for today. So there's my curve. I could then take my curve and I could duplicate it, and I could scale it up here, and I guess I could take my two curves. And I could put a loft between them, and yay, there's my inside out floor plan. And then let me go to surfaces and reverse direction on that, and now I could start working with this, right? I could even convert it to a polygon and do lots of things to it. No thank you. So I'm going to delete all those. Let's delete my two Bezier curves. I would much rather do this in Illustrator. Maybe it's because I'm worked with Adobe for a long time, but I just find it a lot easier. And so first thing I'm going to do is I love the pen tool, right? But I could combine shapes. I could do all sorts of different things. So I could kind of create. I can hold Shift and create linear lines, unlike curves in Maya. I can still control making rounded shapes. I can do all sorts of stuff, right? And at the end of the day, when I'm done with this, and I say, yay, I love my new floor plan, I can click on the last point and close my curve. Wow, how amazing is that? And I can take this and I can copy it, edit copy, or Command or Control C, and I can come back to Maya, and I can go to my poly modeling here and SVG and hit this paste button, and boom, there we go. I have a 3D version of my guy here. I could bring in up the curve resolution a little bit so that those curves match the smooth curves from Illustrator. Play with these angles a little bit. I could even bevel things if I wanted to. Obviously, I can play with my extrude distance. I could also just scale it. I can play with the number of divisions in there as well. This might actually save me some time later when I'm going to make windows by doing that. I don't have to insert as many edge loops. So now I've got my SVG mesh. Maybe I want to rotate the whole thing so it's flat down on my ground plane. And let me go to the channel box to make sure it's actually at 90 degrees. I'm going to do this at 90 instead of negative 90. It's going to flip the other way. And let's go ahead and bring this up. There we go. All right, cool. Actually, because of where my center axis is right now, that's a little bit odd, but whatever. I'll just leave it how it is. It's way up in the air. Didn't want that really. Let's bring that down to 0. See, I might have my... Do I have my camera flipped? Nope, I don't. Interesting. Well, we'll still bring that up and just eyeball it. All right, cool. So now I have my floor plan I can work with. Now I can do all sorts of things to it, right? So right off the bat, I could say, okay, let's cut a window into this side of the wall, right? So I could go ahead and go to my modeling toolkit. I love to use the multi-cut tool. And then remember, if you hold down Control or Alt on a PC, you can get edge loops to come up. And then I could cut a couple more edge loops. And then I could say, okay, cool, this is going to be a window. So if I right click here and grab a face, and delete that. Now, my problem here is obviously this wall has no thickness to it, right? There's no interior. I'm going to go ahead and just remove the roof right now so we can kind of see that my interior is black because there's no thickness to this overall object. I could try to extrude the object into a thickness, and that works, but it kind of bulges. It's a weird feature in Maya. I don't know why it bulges like that. I'm still trying to figure it out. If you do it just a little bit, you don't really notice, except at these corner areas. Yeah, it's a little bit odd that it does that, but you know, it is what it is. So maybe I don't want to extrude the whole thing. I'm going to go back and undo that. Maybe I just want to extrude the wall that I'm working with, right? Maybe we'll never see the full interior. But you could come around and do this wall by wall and avoid that bulge a little bit, and then I can just extrude that out into a certain thickness, and now you'll see my interior. Well, it's a little funky, right? It didn't really extrude. That's interesting. Well, what do I know? I bring it that way and we get a little bit of a funkiness, right? So yeah, we've got to have to kind of deal with that as we go. So that's maybe again why going to full object mode and extruding the whole object just works out a little bit better. Just a hair, get over the thickness that you want, and it automatically fills in the windowsill. So it's rough, you know, it's not perfect. Again, I'm trying to figure out why I get these little bit of curvature around the edges when I do a full extrude like that. But overall, that's a very easy way to do it. I bring my floor plan in, I cut my windows, and then I extrude the whole building into the shape that I want. And if you're working with linear buildings, it's really easy to just do them one wall at a time. Sometimes these curved ones give you a little bit more of a challenge, right? So one way to do it there. Now, another way that I could have done is have my solid object here. Go back here before I took the roof off of it and cut these extra windows. Let's edit and redo and bring that back up. There we go. I could try to Boolean one shape from another, but it's not going to give me like a window all the way through. I'd have to do a Boolean all the way through the object, and they don't always line up the way you want. So sometimes doing it this way is definitely the better way. Cutting your own windows is going to be really the best way to do it. Again, I use the edge loop and do it this way and come in here and grab a whole face, right? And I personally, again, just love the extrude method on it because it's going to allow me to extrude it to a certain thickness and get the wall thickness that I want, right? Now, I could have done this a different way. If I go ahead and just delete this whole object, I could have done a little more prep in Illustrator. So I have this object, right? I could duplicate it. And actually, in Illustrator, you want to do copy and paste in place. That's Command-Shift-V, or up here, edit, paste in place. Duplicate doesn't quite work the same way. And if I hold Option and drag it in, it will scale it. It doesn't exactly do the best job all the time. Like as you can see with a non-linear object like this, I'm going to have to play a little bit with bringing these points in, but it's not impossible. Actually, I'm going to grab these two at the same time and bring these in, and then let me grab that one and that one. You know, for the sake of time, I'm actually going to just do this with a simple shape. So I'll bring in a polygon object, an 8-sided object. Let's go ahead and scale this up, because I want to show you using the bridge tool and kind of fixing this other method. So maybe I'm making an octagon shaped room. Again, copy it, Command Shift and paste. This will scale down evenly. Now, right now, if I paste these in, these are separate vector objects. But if I select both of them, holding Shift, or if I just drag a bounding box, and I bring up my Pathfinder, you can find that under Window and Pathfinder. These are like Boolean tools inside of Maya. I can subtract one object from the other. And now, when I click on this, it's all one object. It's just this border wall, and there's nothing on the inside, right? So, as I have this, if I give this a color to it, oh, you know what? I am in, there we go. I was in outline mode. So you can see it's just filling that part of the shape because that's all there is. So I can copy this now and come back to Maya and go back to my SVG tools again and paste. And there we go. I get just that beautiful perimeter wall, and we are good to go, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and rotate that down. Oh, that's why I need to go back to object mode. Let's try to rotate this guy down. Let's look at the channel box, make sure that's 90 degrees. And bear with me, I'm just trying to see if there's a texture that came in with it. No, that's interesting. So the object, actually, I think it turned inside out on me. Let's go to surfaces and reverse direction. Nope. I'm not sure why it's coming in as black, but I guess we'll find out in a little bit. And let's go ahead and scale this. And now I've got my full object here that I'm working with. Let's see if it might just be the coloring on it right now in this scene. Let me actually go ahead and bring in a sky down. Interesting. Huh. Well, usually don't have that happen, but usually if I select my mesh and then go to surfaces in reverse direction, but it's giving me surfaces or surface isoparms to reverse it. Let's try that again. I'm not sure what happened there in Illustrator, but it didn't like whatever I brought in. For some reason it didn't like it. Maybe it was because there's a fill on it. Let's just give it an outline and try that one more time. And SVG. There we go. You got me. So apparently it didn't like that fill that I had on it for some reason. Don't ask me why. But at least our object, we can see the proper exterior of it now and not having the same errors that we had before. So we'll try that again. Scale this guy down. Sorry, I should just go to the channel box editor and do this every time. And there we go. And now let's scale it up. Oh, I guess I need to do -90 on that. There we go. Get in the proper orientation. All right. We're going to move that out here. Now I have a wall with an interior and an exterior, all because I did that little bit of a Boolean operation ahead of time inside of Maya. I'm sorry, inside of Illustrator. Now I could still come to say one of the sides here. Let's go ahead and look at this one. And I can go ahead and grab my mesh and get to my modeling toolkit again and grab that multi-cut tool. And I could still insert some edge loops. So I'll insert one here, here, and here. And I can grab that and delete it, right? But as you can see, the challenging part is it didn't cut all the way through the object. I have an interior wall and an exterior wall. So it makes it kind of tricky to get all the way through the object. And for the life of me, I have still not been able, even with, I'm trying to get it to go through the back side of it as well. And it's a tricky one there to get it to actually show up the way I want. So if I go to wireframe on shaded, and actually turn on X-ray, I can at least try to do it to this side as well. So I'm going to try and put in the same exact cross sections here, the best that I can. And then I'll try to put some in right here. It's actually, I'm in a perspective view here, so it'd be better to do this if I put this in right here, X-ray, and make sure I'm actually aligned properly. I'm just going to undo that one real quick. All right, let's try it again. There you go. almost there. Okay. Now, did I do it properly? Yes, I think I did. Awesome. Now I can turn that X-ray mode off. Now, last thing we have is we have this hole that's opened up in between the gaps here. This is where I like to use the bridge tool. I'm going to go to edge mode, grab this guy, and go to edit mesh and bridge, and go here, edit mesh and bridge. And as you can see, you can very quickly start to fill in these gaps in the windowsill and have an interior and exterior space with a windowsill with no holes. All right, we're going to end it there. Hopefully that gets you started and on laying out some of your floor plans in Illustrator and bringing them into Maya and being able to cut windows, a couple different methods. All right, thanks for tuning in.